Hello, and here we are again on part 2 of Unit 8's videos concerning the RPG Toolkit for XNA. So today, or for now I should say, we're going to be talking about adding quests to the role-playing sample tutorial. As you saw before from the runtime of the role-playing game, there are quests that already exist. So, for example, well, this isn't really a quest, but this is just the storyline, and it does show as a main quest line item, however. It shows that requirements have already been met. So it starts out being met basically because you press the button, and then Shadar the Wise gives you your next quest basically, and he says you have completed it, and now in order to do your next quest, you need to find rubies, and that will give you a shield. And so these are, you can see kind of the press, Save Mercadia has been completed, and he basically is the one that told you that was completed, and then he gave you this next quest called Find the Hide, or Find the Rubies and Get the Hide Shield. So we're going to add quest items today, and I'm going to show you how to go about doing that. This is a very important part of any role-playing game. It sort of helps define the storyline that goes through the game. Obviously, story is a hugely important thing to RPGs, and you know, I haven't even really shown you any. Well, I think I showed you a little bit of combat early on with the Sir Shire guy or whatever that was, but mainly this is just story-based stuff. So we want to be able to edit quickly and painlessly quest files. And so what they've done is they've created a nice XML layout for us. XML is a markup language that has been created and is very common and prolific in games as far as being used. So let's take a look at quest.cs. To search, we know that quest.cs is the one we want to use, so we can hit control. I'm sorry, forget that control thing. It looks like that's outdated in the latest Visual Express that only worked in 2008. What you can actually do is use our helpful find in files again, and you can type OF, and you can put quest.cs. That's the one we want. And if we hit quest.cs, OF, quest.cs, enter, we actually automatically get the quest.cs file, which is a very helpful productivity tip. I used to use that quite a bit in working on Batman and stuff like that, massive sized code bases. I'm just closing up my files here because I'm the kind of guy that leaves my files open, and I had quite a bit of files open, as you can tell, so I'm just closing some of these. But as I talk about the quest, so the quest CS file is the one that processes all the quests from the XNA files, and it loads it into this quest object that is defined in quest CS, which is where I am now. And it basically talks about the quest stages, like not start, in progress, requirements met or completed, and various, you know, requirements are defined here. It's a list of requirements, destination for the quest, the reward for the quest, etc. So that's where that all is. And then the content quest directory has our actual quests. And what we do here is we call these a quest line. So they're organized into lines, and these are a series of quests that basically sequentially move from one quest to another. So if we open this up just by double clicking on it, we see an XML file. So I talked about XML a little bit before. XML is a very useful tool. It's similar to HTML in the sense that it's tagging. So basically we're in the XNA content tag here. Then we're going to open up a new tag called asset type and close that tag, and inside of that tag then we're going to have the name and a bunch of different items. So this is similar to an HTML, for example, where just to show you a quick example, since really you're getting credit if you pass this course. You're getting credit for CS 201, which covers some of this stuff. So this is an example of kind of poorly formed because I didn't put my /lis on here, but you've probably, those of you that have done HTML before know what I'm talking about. This is probably looking very similar to the code that you see at the left, and quite honestly, they made XTML knowing that and wanting it to be very similar to that so you could get used to it. And I can just save this. I'm just going to save this as a HTML file so I can show you quick. This is just a list example. Quite like this is a list of items that these are the content names that we're going after, the Mercadia, hide armor, etc. Here I'm doing my list example.txt, and that should have saved as an HTML, but Windows is dumb sometimes, so I'm just going to go ahead and rename it in here. And really, it's not Windows that's dumb, it's just the Notepad. I should have probably been using Notepad++ or Sublime or something like that. I don't know if I have Sublime installed. Oh yeah, I do. Sublime is a much better text editor that I usually use for editing of HTML files and XML files. It does a really good job at that. For example, this is what our little file would have looked like in Sublime. And I actually even have a nice build system set up in Sublime that I can hit build on this and it goes directly to my Firefox window and just sends, because I've basically set up the build tool to send that in the case of an HTML file. Anyway, it sends 1, 2, and 3 to the screen. This is a web page now. So there you go. You've learned HTML. Congratulations. No, seriously, HTML is much more simple than the C# stuff we've been doing. XML is also much more simple than the C# stuff we've been doing. It's just a very simple way of sort of organizing information. It's also very serializable. It's very save-friendly. So there's a lot of reasons that games use it. Save-friendly, serializable, so it's great over the network if you can serialize that data and send it. And it's also very organized. Before XML existed, people would create custom sort of formats for their saves and all their information, and it was kind of a mess. And so I'm really glad that XML was introduced, and as you can see, the people that made this XNA toolkit over at Microsoft provided a way of creating quests with XML. So we divide it up into quest lines. This is the main quest line, and it's got some different quest names: Save Mercadia, Hide Armor, Short Sword, Test Battle, Goblin Brigade, Lush Village, etc. You can see all of those should look familiar over here because we've got Defeat Tamar, Hide Armor. Each of these appears over in the list over here, and this has content as well. So it's got the name of the quest we're going to undergo, the description that's going to be displayed, the completion, that message that's going to be given, any requirements that are needed before this quest begins. So for example, Test Battle has some monster requirements, as well as I don't think there's any gear requirements apparently on this one. I think Bandit Leader, one of these has a, I guess not, I was going to say I thought one of these had gear requirements. Oh yeah, gear requirements here for like the Hide Armor, for example. You have to have the Glimmering Ruby in order to get the Hide Armor. Monster requirements, you have to have, for example, the Test Battle. For this Test Battle, you have to have Sir Shire in your requirements list, and this is actually going to mean that when it loads up that quest, it has to have Sir Shire as one of the objects that's being loaded. So the main quest line, we just have one main quest line in this game right now, and we're going to go off every other thing. And this is how I would suggest you do it for your game, just to have one main quest line. You could even start changing things exactly like they are now. This Save Mercadia is the very first quest line that comes up. The game is rigged now to basically display that first quest line. So anything I change in here, this is the Evil Tamar line. I'm just going to very quickly say, hello, my name is Bob. I am a squid. I'm going to put that in there. Hello, my name is Bob. I'm a squid. And I'm going to run this thing. And when I hit new game, there we go. Description is, hello, my name is Bob. I'm a squid. And I should go and speak to Shadar the Wise, because apparently that's what squids do, is they go and speak to Shadar the Wise. That's what I would do if I was a squid. That's what Bob should do as well. So that's what we will do. But anyway, that is very quickly just showing you how powerful this is. You can just easily change that text and it immediately changes the stuff on the screen, the GUI on the screen. So that's not really doing much of anything yet either. All that's doing is kind of hacking what's already there. One thing to keep in mind is as each quest is completed, the next quest in line immediately begins. That's the way that they've got this coded up. That's probably a fine way for now to be coded up as well. You can always make changes to the engine if you don't like that. So in the beginning of the game, we've got the player being instructed to visit Shadar the Wise near the player's starting position. So we go down, we saw this already a couple times, and you get a few simple quests. Let's basically get the player some more gold, some more XP, and a helmet, and use that as a requirement before the character has to face Sir Shire. So basically, we're going to create it such that you need to have the gear requirements for, hold on a second here. Oh yeah, so the gear requirements for getting the hide helmet are going to be that you've got this new ruby. So it's kind of the same as what we've got before, except we're just going to add a new quest element, and hopefully that should give you an idea for how these quests are made. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a new XML file, because basically we're going to create a new quest, and it's going to be a list. It's going to be an item in this list. So we go ahead and right-click on the quest folder, and we can go to add new item, and we can say XML file, and we're going to change this name to something constructive. Let's call it and now a helmet, because this is what's going to be giving you the helmet. And now a helmet.xml and add. Now this gives you a bunch of junk in here. You know, the default stuff. This can all be basically replaced. You don't really need any of this. Well, actually, you do need the XML version 1 encoding section, XNA content section. The asset type system string is not needed. That's going to be replaced with asset type role-playing game data.quest, and we'll get to that in a moment here. So for now, just leave it and we'll delete it in a second. Basically, what we want to do is we want to change this here. Get rid of this line. So we've customized this now, and we want to say asset type equals role-playing game data.quest. And I forgot to capitalize playing. Role-playing with a capital P, game data.quest, and that is our new asset type that we're creating. I'm also going to create some space here. Remember, this is a tagging system, so the whole asset is being defined as such. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on. So the rest of the tags are going to go inside of this asset tag, and that first tag, as you can see here, oops, what the heck? As you can see here from Defeat Tamar, we've got a name. I like to just simply take this, copy this, just that way I know exactly it's the right thing. And I'm just going to call this, and now a helmet. And so that's going to be the name of my new quest. And then next up we've got the description tag. And this can be a longer form description. For example, something like, I do not think that you are quite ready for combat yet. find me one more glimmering ruby, and I will reward you again. So note here that I'm trying to keep the storyline consistent with what they've already done, what Microsoft has already provided. Then we shall see how you fare in combat. Before I was just kind of screwing around with that squid thing just to give you an example, but obviously I'd like your stories to be consistent, make sense, and even if they're kind of a bit crazy, they should be consistently crazy. If you know what I mean. It's kind of like the whole idea of cartoon physics. Cartoon physics is all fine as long as cartoon physics is in that same context and you don't have real physics invading the cartoon physics, and the world kind of makes sense in that sort of way. So you have to be consistent with your story, consistent with your style, and so we're going to basically say, it's kind of a little bit of a boring story, but okay, fine, you're not ready for combat yet, you should find me another one of these glimmering rubies and give me it, and I will give you a helmet. And then we're just going to end the description there. So next up we have to have an objective message, and that's the tag that's going to describe what the player has to do to complete this quest. So for example, it's going to say something like, look for another nearby chest that contains the ruby. So objective message. And you notice how it automatically, XML automatically tags the bottom line, so that's kind of nice. The ending tag. Look for another nearby chest that contains the glimmering ruby. And we've already got the ending tag, so we're all set. So this is going to be shown in a couple different situations. Either there's a destination NPC that the party must visit to finish the quest. In that case, it shows as the NPC dialogue, or it just shows on the screen, the dialogue screen, as soon as all the requirements are met and before the reward screen is shown. The next thing you want to do is you want to create a completion message so the player knows when this has been completed. And by the way, I'm just going off of what's in these. You can tell, okay, there's a completion message, description, objective, completion, gear requirements is coming up next. So I'm going to call it completion message. And the completion message is thank you for the glimmering ruby. I shall reward you with the hide helmet. Go to the inventory screen and equip it now. Okay, remind me to equip it because that's something I always forgot to do, as you guys probably noticed. So there is our completion message. Now we need to do the quest requirements. The gear requirements are going to be a list of the gear and the desired qualities that the party must hold at the same time in order to satisfy the requirements of this quest. And the monster requirements are actually the required monsters that the party has to kill to actually satisfy the requirements of the quest. And these are going to be loaded by that XNA pipeline into actually something called the quest requirement object. So if we take a look at quest requirement, the quest requirement object is defined in quest requirement.cs. This is a templated function which basically just holds the just reads this information in and keeps track if this current quest has been completed. So I'm going to go back to add now a helmet and give my gear requirements. And here we go. So I'm also going to, I might as well just go ahead and add monster requirements too. Accidentally completed. Sometimes it thinks it's smarter than it is. There we go. Monster requirements. We're going to basically say that gear requirements, we want an item to be required here. So we're going to say item slash item, kind of like we did. We could have a list of items, kind of like we did when I showed that HTML example, or the earlier example of the list of quests. And the name of this thing is going to be items slash glimmering ruby. Now, I'll come back to that in a second. We're going to say count should be 1 on that. So we should have 1 glimmering ruby that we give to the guy. And basically that is wondering now, I said I'd come back to this, I promised I would, and now I will. This glimmering ruby, if you're wondering where that came from, well, if you do a search on glimmering ruby, actually, just a hint here, if you're doing a lot of finding files, you don't even need to have the whole name. Glimmering ruby, there's probably only one type of glimmering thing, so I'm just going to search on glimmering, and I see it come up in a bunch of places as glimmering ruby. Oh, here we are, glimmering ruby.xml. That's kind of what I was expecting. So the reason that I put in items slash, sorry about that, alarm clock start going off. Anyway, the reason I put in items slash glimmering ruby is, as you can see under gear, this is a gear requirements, and then we're going to say it's an item. So under items, or I'm sorry, under gear, since it's a gear requirements looking under here, we're going to look for items slash glimmering. Otherwise we could look under armor, be armor slash whatever it is, or weapons slash whatever it is. Best to just follow their template on this, and it is items slash glimmering ruby that we want. So one thing that we could do here for monster requirements, we're going to leave this empty, but if we wanted to have a monster that would be killed in order to give us this thing, it would be pretty simple. All we have to do is add item. Actually, that should be capital item. And you would just say content name, and that should be Sir Shire. And as you can see, Sir Shire I misspelled it. So that doesn't help when you misspell it. Sir Shire has his own XML file inside of fixed combats, so I can easily reference this as Sir Shire, and I can say that the count has to be 1. So if you want to do something like, well, take a look, for example, at maps fixed combat. These are all the various enemy definitions in fixed combat. If we wanted to have to kill, like, 2 orc brutes 1, we could put the number 2 in there, and then it only gives you this reward completion, task completion if you've actually done that. But I'm going to not have this in here for now, because what that would mean is it would mean, well, you should pause the video here, think about what that would mean. Basically, yeah, you're probably right. I would imagine most of you got this. What that would mean is you would have to defeat Sir Shire in order to get the helmet, which is not what we intended in the storyline, so I'm not going to do that. And that, because that would be kind of a little strange, since he's already told you, by the way, you're not ready to defeat this guy, so get me a glimmering ruby, and then you can go on and battle Sir Shire. So, okay, next thing we need to cover, basically, that's good for now, and then we'll go and add some additional stuff later. But first I want to kind of go over how this quest entry stuff works. Basically, when a quest is active, it can add any map entities it wants to the world in any map it wants. So quest becomes active and guys show up, basically. And what we do with that is we say fixed combat entries, and that's a common thing, as well as chest entries. These are both tags that can be accepted inside of that XML, so that when the quest is active, it pops up. It pops up and basically says, "Hey, these are my new things that are going to be spawned in the map." So you say fixed combat entries, bam, there is new guys spawned in the world. you say chest entries, and then you got new chest entries that are sitting in the world for you to use. So basically, we need to add those. To add those is pretty simple. We can just go down here and say basically fixed combat entries inside of the quest object itself. Now these fixed combat entries are going to basically contain a list of the fixed combats, and each one is going to be a group of monsters that is represented by a monster sprite. These are represented by the fixed combat object, which you can check out quickly. Remember to use our nice little OF fixed combat, and you can already see it here, fixed combat.cs. Even gives you the path, Windows map, fixed combat role-playing game data Windows map, fixed combat.cs. This is the one that actually loads up the fixed combat requirements. And I'm just going to go ahead. Now this one we've already added through the map tiling tool. We've already added Sir Shire. So we're just going to say, we're not going to actually add anything here. We're just going to say fixed combat entries. And we're just going to end it right away. If we wanted, we could basically say item here, and then we could say, again, you guessed it, content name, and we could put in Sir Shire. Make sure to spell it right. And then you actually need to put in map position as well. Oops. This should be, for example, a good position might be 919 because the other guys are at 9, so maybe this would be just spawn just before Shrednor. Direction he's facing, have him facing north or something like this. And the map content name of where he's located is map 001. Map 001 is what you saw from before. Maps map 001.xml is there. So if you wanted to have a new guy spawned when this entry comes, you could do this. This would make it hard because you'd have actually two guys to fight in order to achieve that. But you could try it out if you want to. I'm actually going to just leave it out for now and just leave it blank. But what I am going to add is a chest entry because I want you to be able to pick up this glimmering ruby. So I'm going to say chest entries, and I'm going to say item, and it becomes really kind of painless to create these tags. Content name ruby. I can give it a map position. Remember, this is an XY position on the map. And 13.9 might be a good position, so it spawns just on the other side of him. Remember the spawn position that we talked about before. What was that thing called? Well, I forgot already what it was called. I'm just going to search on spawn quickly, and you can see somewhere down in here, no portal use spawn position, spawn map position, spawn map position. Here we go. It's at 9.7. So I am adding my and now a helmet at 13.9. That's sort of down and slightly over to the right. I'm going to add that chest that we have to actually find in map 1. And so we got to tell it what map to be in. Map content name map 001. And that's about it for the chest entry. So the next thing you can do is you can do a destination. If you take a look at some of these other, like Lush Village, for example, some of these might have actual destination map content names, for example. I don't know if any do. Let's take a look here. Quests, defeat Tamar. This gives you a bunch of gold. Yeah, here's one. So when you defeat Tamar, this gives you, takes you back to Shedar. That's the destination, or actually, I'm sorry, this is a destination requirement, so that contains the name of the map that the NPC is on. That it's the quests that require the party to return to particular NPCs to receive that reward. So then when they come back to that NPC, they get the reward from him. That's kind of a typical mechanic in RPGs. And then after that point, the reward screen appears. So basically, Shredar says, "Okay, well, good job. You have done your thing. Congratulations." And in order to do that, you use destination map content name, destination NPC for the guy you need to talk to, and destination objective message. That's the message shown under the current objective heading in quest detail after all the requirements have been met. So after all your requirements are met, you'd probably want to know, well, my requirements have been met. Why am I not getting my thing? Well, actually, it's you have to go and talk to Shedar and basically let him know you've defeated Tamar, and then he will give you all this gold and this experience points and so on and so forth. So that is how that works. You need to actually, I'm going to copy this because in our and now a helmet we need to actually have these, except we just need to make them empty in our case. So I'm just going to, and by the way, one nice little thing that I'm doing here that I don't know if you knew, if I ever want to double delete a word, I can just double click that word and hit backspace. So I'm double click it and hit backspace. Kind of nice. Here I'm selecting that, bang, okay, I'm done with the destination section. Actually, I have a second thought. How about we do require it so that you have to go, let's just test this out quick. Let's just do map 1, and let's do Shedar. Shedar with 2 Ds and 2 As. Go and speak with Shedar. Tell him you have a ruby. Okay, so we're going to go and speak with Shedar, tell him we have a ruby, and theoretically then we will get our stuff. Now, when we have the requirements met and you go to your destination NPC, if there is a destination NPC, then we want experience rewards to be given. This one gives experience rewards and gold rewards and gear rewards, which is basically everything we want. So I'm going to take this Lush Village and copy it over into now a helmet, just to make things go a little bit faster because this video is already over 30 minutes long. And I'm going to give them 50 experience for getting this ruby. I'm going to give them 50 gold, and I'm going to give them a hide helmet. And remember, you want to follow the directory structure of the items and the armor and whatnot. And if you take a look at that, you go to gear, and there's armor, and these are all the armors we can pick from. So we say armor, or I'm sorry. Note what mistake I made. What mistake did I make? Well, this should be item. I got ahead of myself. It should be armor here, and we say armor / hide helmet. Okay, and so that is basically, we're getting pretty close now. So let's just take a look at this entire XML file, make sure we're all correct here. We've got everything met. We've got our description, we've got our objective message, completion message, gear requirements, monster requirements, don't have any fixed combat requirements, chest entries of things that you had to get, or things that are added in the world, and the ruby is added in the world, and then we have to go and talk to Shedar and tell him that we got this chest, and then we're going to get, oops, I added a elixir item, I don't want that, I want just the hide helmet. Always good to double check your work. So double checking that, we found a little copy paste error. So next up, I think that's pretty much it. And we just need to basically make sure that's part of the project for your platform, and we checked that already. but let's just check that again. Okay, indeed, here it is. It's in our project for Windows. If you had separate projects here, for example, for Xbox, you would want to make sure that's been added to that project. The way Windows and Xbox and Windows phones work is they're each a separate project, and we'll get to that next week when we talk about the Windows Phone deployment, because essentially all those platforms handle, they all handle their file parsing differently. So file parsing is going to work one way on the 360, another way on the Windows Phone, and a whole other way on the Windows. So on the Windows operating system. So basically, we need to have those set all in separate directories, and in this case, it's only Windows we care about. So we've got and now a helmet sitting there. Now we can go about and add our quest to the game. So we want to go to the quest line folder, which is main quest line, and we're going to stick this somewhere right after or right before we have test battle. That's what we're looking at now. And so we're going to stick this right inside, right before test battle. We're going to stick our newly created thing and now a helmet. So there is the and now a helmet added. And let's give this a shot and play the game. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now. Something crazy is going to happen here because I know, because I fast forwarded time as I can do because I have that power. The game loads. When I hit new game, it's actually giving me a content load exception was unhandled. We barely covered exceptions. Dr. Bresnay barely covered them. That's something we're going to be handling next week, unless he did get to it this week, which would be bonus content. But we're having a file not found issue here, and I'm going to debug this and let you guys know what I found. I'm going to purposefully not re-record this video just to use it as a learning experience, and I will let you know what I have found. So one moment while I pause time yet again. Okay, everyone, I found the error. I was a bit concerned when I was showing you guys before how to do the quest, because I thought I had moved a file by accident, and indeed I did. I had main game description.xml buried inside the quest folder. I must have accidentally dragged and dropped it, and what I was getting was a file exception, file not found, and it gave me this file name as it couldn't find it. So what I had to do was go back and see where the original position of main game description.xml was, and it's indeed a file under role-playing game content windows. So I moved it back to that, and that fixes it. You probably did not have that problem on yours, and probably when you ran it, it ran just fine, because as soon as I made that change, it ran fine for me. And you just go up to Start Debug, and you can play your game that you've just created, your quest that you've just created. You just go to New Game, save Mercadia, same as before. Requirements are met immediately. We talk to Shedar, and he tells us what's going on. Say that quest is complete, and now he tells us to get the hide shield. We must get a ruby, so we go and get the ruby. Take all. Back. So we've got the ruby. We go to him and we say, here's your ruby, Mr. Man. And we continue, and we've got our hide shield. We continue. This is saying, give a short sword if you get another glimmering ruby. I'm going to go ahead and take that. Yay. Now I've got the short sword, and now I've got the ruby. I'm going to go back and get the short sword from him. And I got it, and now the next thing that comes up should be our quest. And here it is. I do not think you are quite ready for combat yet. Find me one more glimmering ruby, and I will reward you again. Then we shall see how you fare in combat. And you can see we've got some formatting problems. I'm actually not going to fix that in this video because we're almost at 40 minutes long. That is quite long, but I will show you where you can go to fix that. And now a helmet files. Must have, thanks for the glimmering ruby. Then we shall see how you fare in combat. This probably needs some reworking to make sure it can all fit in one. And look, there's some white space here. You can kind of tell that when you're playing the game. Yeah, there's some white space right before the word how you fare in combat, which I think is overflowing then down to the current objective marker, which if we take a look at that, take a look at current objective. This as well is down a line. This should have been probably over here, something like that. But I said I wasn't going to fix this in here. Now I am fixing it. But anyway, there, that fixes that. Well, actually, it doesn't fix that quite yet because I need to move this up a line, and bang, now it's fixed. So white space is important, is kind of what this is a lesson in. But anyway, that is our message. And now we can go back, and we have to find the ruby. So there's our little chest. We've got it. We do a take or a take all, and yay, we've got the glimmering ruby. Go and speak with Shedar and tell him you have a ruby. So that's my custom message down there. I go back and I talk to Shedar, and he's going to say, great, here's your hide helmet. And in fact, I have leveled up, so it automatically does the level up as well. So that is it for today. I am going to release a video on Friday that goes over and talks about the engine a little more in detail. Perhaps we'll even get into changing sprite sheets a little bit, that kind of thing, changing characters around, making more elaborate quests, and all the rest. So I think you've got enough to chew on for today, at least Wednesday and Thursday, and then I'll release another one on Friday. And that is it for the night. So enjoy your RPG creating. Oh, by the way, actually, one last thing before I go. I should talk a little bit about Game Project 2. So you've done now Game Project 1, that's going to be due on Friday of this week. It was supposed to be due on Monday, but anyway, we extended it, which means we're going to extend all the other projects. It also means that the app mini project is going to turn into an optional assignment, and the app full project is going to be required, as it's always been. That way we get an extra week in there where we can actually get stuff done, because we're coming upon near the end of the course. We're already at Unit 8, and there's only 12 units, so we're getting there. But anyway, so the Game Project 2, I haven't put a description up on it yet, but what it's going to be is you're going to make your own RPG. And you can get pretty complex on this if you want. You can go crazy and create a whole bunch of new sprite animation sheets if you want to create new characters. You can just make the quests really elaborate if you want to take that road. There's going to be multiple paths you can take to completing this project. You can go very art heavy, you can go very story heavy, or you can go very code heavy. The more code heavy approaches might even involve changing up combat a little bit and doing some AI and things like that, which we'll talk about next week. So that concludes sort of my description of that for now, but we will get to this more in the video on Friday as well as next week. Also, to keep in mind, this week and next week are the last pure game weeks, and then we get into the app stuff starting halfway through week 9. So we have quite a bit of content to cover yet. I'm going to be covering more details on the game engine. Next week we're going to be covering some on AI, and that'll basically finish out the game section, and we're going to transition in the same week, week 9, over to the app stuff. So that is it for now, and we will see you next time. Enjoy your RPG. So, have a good night.